Hello, welcome to Toffee TV. It is the Daily Live Extra, me and John.
What makes it extra?
Because
this is the first show of the day, so how can it be extra?
Because it's... Yeah, it is. Because of the way it used to be, and it's just stuck. The name's just stuck.
So you can do a rebrand on
because it used to be basically going back to what was said in the news the night before, and then pulling the stuff out the news.
Well, the way the Premier League keep doing stuff while we're live on air, you could breaking news show.
Breaking news show.
So we could break cups every time.
So it was basically to look back at the news that we spoke about the night before.
Well, let's look back on
in
the
a
week
little
instead.
bit more context. So we are gonna look back on the week because it's been a bit of a confusing week.
That's it.
I think because I think there's a lot of stories still going round about the football club, and there's a lot of stories.
People trying to make stories from not much.
Yeah, and then they've seen the stuff about like Luton being really hard done by. Oh, poor Luton just happened to be in the Premier League the same season.
Did anyone actually read the iNews article, or did they just read the headline?
I just read the headline.
Because I'm not paying to read drivel, are you?
No.
But it seemed to be that the story was going to tell you how and why they're hard done by, on the basis that there's absolutely no reason, no way, no nothing that makes Luton hard done by, because other clubs are getting points taken off them. They're the beneficiary.
Yeah.
Now, maybe, just maybe, it's in the foothills of what we've talked about, which is Luton's players are, if you like, I'll use the word anxiety or anxious, are anxious because they're not quite sure where they stand. And that's all on the Premier League.
But didn't Luton say, I'm sure, I was listening to Andros Townsend on Monday night, and I'm sure he said they are looking at it from like, that they haven't had any points deducted or something like that.
He was quite positive in the sense of an ex-Everton player, I suppose, so he maybe had to straddle the line, But I'm not going to pay to find out what that journalist thought was the reason why they're the real victims, because I think that was the headline. Why Luton are the real victims in this. So if there's anyone out there who either used one of those fancy little websites you can use to get round stuff, or actually pay for the goddamn thing, tell us what the article was about.
We don't endorse skipping around paywalls.
I said it
might go against our business model. Well, there's a story. What about the story today? Just before we go backwards, have you seen the story today about the interest payments in the Guardian?
Yeah, I saw that this morning. Yeah.
So what are we to make of that then? Just if anyone.
It's just Simon Goodley, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, Simon Goodley is a business journalist, so he's done a business article.
Yeah.
And clearly, we all know, that businesses or companies or lenders like Right and Media Funding are somewhat opaque, right? But if we draw the analogy between, say, I don't know, pick an example. Two lenders to Everton, right? You got Right and Media Funding and you've got MSP. Both lend money, right? We, the fans, have no idea whose money it is.
Yeah.
Because in both cases, MSP as an investment-y type company and Right and Media Funding as a lending type company.
Yeah.
It worked. Until Patrick Ridge flattened that.
It's got a floppy arm.
Yeah, until Patrick Ridge flattened that when we were talking to the sports barrister. Shows out there. It's really good. Go look at it. Anyway, back to the plot, right? So we know that MSP, when they lent Everton the money, had, 10 investors or something.
Yeah.
We know Farhad Moshiri is one of them. We either know or suspect George Downing and AJ Bell are two others. We don't know who the other 7 are.
Yeah.
And the same applies with Right and Media Funding. They're far more opaque, I would suggest, than MSP anyway. A little cupboard somewhere, which is their headquarters and things like that. And what Simon Goodley's done is he's tried to track down who ultimately is the money behind it. And he's come up with this guy, and that's it.
That's it.
Yeah.
So it's just a...
That's it. It's the sort of story that if PSR and 777 and all those sorts of things were going around, would still be worthy because it's good investigative journalism.
Yeah.
But would the average sport fan be interested in it? Probably not. But the business people would be. And that's who Simon targets, I suppose. But the thing that's surprising, or maybe surprising to people out there, is how much hard work goes into that sort of stuff.
From the club side or from the...
No, from the journalist side. Because
sorry.
none of these entities make it easy for you to track things down, do they?
None of them want to.
You only have to just play a game on Company's House where you go to it and you look at Company A and you see who owns Company A. it tells you who's got significant control.
Yeah.
And it turns out to be Company B. And it turns out Company B are owned by Company C, and Company C are owned by Company D. And guess who owns Company D? Company A. So it's
Isn't that like an organised crime thing?
No, but the hierarchy of structures like that, sometimes they are designed so that you can't track down. You know? And this is where Premier League, particularly when there's got change of ownership type things, as they want to know, and we've all heard the phrase, have we not, of who the ultimate owner is.
Yeah.
You can have a front man.
We've had a few of them in the last few years.
Well, again, I've had a debate this morning on the Shareholders Association WhatsApp group about the difference between influence and control.
Yeah.
Because if you look at the historical stuff, obviously rights and media funder and in there, it would be perhaps perceived or expected or understood, all that sort of stuff by many people, that maybe some of the types of people who may be behind that are people like, Mr. Green and maybe there's a Mr. Blue and a Mr. White and all those sorts of things as well. So it's all interesting stuff, and it's an easy read, by the way.
I was going to say, I think what's really interesting about that,
so you can read it easily.
I think what's really interesting about that is we've had this at Everton for years, haven't we? There's always
at least 20.
We've always had a shadowy person behind the scenes who
perceived to be.
That's a better way to say it.
But absolutely.
But the problem is, I suppose, right now for fans is those shadowy people were led to believe could very much be about to pick the bones off Everton, the meat off Everton's bones in many. That's what we're being led to believe, aren't we? Because next week, MSP could own the stadium, or they could own the club, or do you know what I mean? It's like
if they exercise the influence that they have, they could own the club.
Yeah.
That's an interesting one because, of course, you start to go through, fit and proper owners, and all those sorts of things, and you might question why would they do it. Well, indirectly, my understanding is MSP are probably more interested in the stadium than they are in the club. They don't want to run a football club, but of course the stadium is a wholly owned subsidiary of the club. So you can easily see if you use horrible phrases like asset stripping and things like that, then the means to an end to get control over the stadium might be, at least for a period of time, to own the football club. Yeah. But you're riding into a storm of fan activism if you do any of that.
But you've got to understand what it is, though, to be angry about it. So what?
Well, if you woke up one morning and heard that Company X have bought Everton and 3 months later they've sold the stadium to another one of their companies, and then they sell Everton to a different company, and Everton are left as Everton without a stadium, right? And then they say, by the way, we'd like £25 million a year for you to play in that thing, then that's what asset stripping is all about, ultimately. Extracting the value from an organisation. Which is perhaps best realised by breaking it up.
You've advocated, and I know these are two separate things, you've advocated Everton not actually owning the stadium.
No, I haven't. No, I have not.
You said there's benefits to it, to the football club.
No, not at all.
You said you didn't mind if Everton didn't own the football club, the stadium.
I didn't mind if we sold some of it.
Okay.
Right.
We got there.
And I've always advocated keeping control.
Okay. So what's the difference, just for me as an idiot, between not having it and having control, selling it and having control?
Well, let's do the three levels.
Go on.
Because you brought it up. One is not owning it at all, which is your Paul Gregg model, per se, right? Whereby you say you have a company that owns the stadium, they lease it to the football club for 125 years. In the case of the King's Dock, Council would have owned the stadium, Everton would have been a tenant. 125 years is a long time, right?
So is that like Manchester City?
That's Man City, West Ham, and presumably some others, right? So that's like one version of it. But what you'd hope in those circumstances is, again, as Paul Gregg, and the video's out there, guys, go and watch it if you've not watched it. What he's talking about is someone else is paying for the stadium then, because they own it.
Yeah.
Well, we've paid for this one. Albeit our largest shareholders paid for it, and a load of debt is going to pay for it, right? So then you're into, do we need to own it 100%, right? Which is where you were at. Baz suggests you've changed your mind about that, but let's come to it in a minute. No. Okay. Then there's the 100% one, right?
Yeah.
Which is, we own it, it's our stadium, we have to own it, we have to own all of it. That's the Bill Kenwright version.
Yeah.
And if you think about it, with the King's Dock, the Bill Kenwright version won, but the net result was we didn't get the stadium at all. Right? So you're into that. Then there's the more appropriate one, in my view, where you need to have you can perceive, if you will, you need to have control, which is 50% of the shares plus 1. No one can sell it. No one can do anything with it without our permission. That leaves you with 50% of the shares less 1 that you could sell to somebody else.
Yeah.
Right? And if you sell it to somebody else, let's pretend this stadium is perceived to be worth £400 million, say, when it's finished, which is a cute one. As people know, it's probably going to cost 800 to build, right? Then you say, well, let's sell half the stadium, less a share, to PED. And he hands over 200 million quid. That money is now inside the club.
Yeah.
And it can pay off debts, it can buy footballers, it can do whatever, right? What's in it for you as a buyer is that you're still going to have a construct where that stadium now has income that can turn into profit, that can be distributed to the shareholders, which includes PED.
Yeah.
And that's it. And guess what? I did a blog on this about 8 years ago, right? So there's nothing new under the sun. Really isn't.
Yeah.
I've only done 2 blogs in my goddamn life, and that's one of them. And the day that this happens, I'm going to go, told you so. Now, the joy of that version, the last one, is if you do it right, Evertonians worldwide could be the people who own the other 49.99%.
Yeah.
And I just, for the life of me, cannot understand why anybody involved in this thing, when the money's got hard and difficult, haven't even contemplated thinking about, would you do this?
In the same way that you're a shareholder at Everton Football Club.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
You're never really going to have any say on anything.
No real say.
But it's you are there, you are part of it. You can voice your concerns, and the stadium obviously is a big thing. Now, so why wouldn't you?
Absolutely. Now the thing you pointed us all at a podcast, and hey, we don't mind competition. You know, the Gabby Logan and Mark Chapman one, what are they called?
Sports agents.
They talk about various things around season ticket prices and all that sort of stuff. But one of the things they talk about is, and particularly the guy from The Athletic who was a guest, and we should try and get him because he sounds like a guy who knows what he's talking about. He's the Tottenham guy at The Athletic.
Yeah.
And he says, well, you know, they were all into the Premier League. They were all into football without fans as nothing and all those sorts of things, right? But as soon as we all get back into the routine, they forget about it, don't they?
Yeah.
They forget about it. But Ken Bates didn't.
No.
Right? So Chelsea, Ken Bates thought fans really matter. And there's a fans trust. And it might not be common knowledge, but I don't know what it's called, the fans trust, but I'll call it that.
Yeah.
The Chelsea fans trust, which is the fans, own the pitch.
Yeah.
They don't own the stadium.
No.
They don't own all the stuff that goes around it, but they own the pitch. And it's got zero value to them, really. It doesn't get them any money or anything. But what it does do is mean you can't build anything on it without their permission. So in other words, an owner can't sell Stamford Bridge, move the stadium 2 miles down the road and make it a beautiful thing like the Bernabeu and all that, and build hugely expensive apartments and so on and so forth on the historical legacy of the football club without the permission of the fans.
Yeah, so it's got power.
So it's got real power. And that's the sort of thing Tracy Crouch wants when she wants to put fans at the heart of football clubs, you know, to put some meat on the bone, which is currently so thin and skinny. It's not true that these are not community football clubs at all. They don't give a damn about the community. I mean, in the round, there's obviously going to be exceptions, of which Everton are clearly one, right? But in the round, all they want is bums on seats, generating money. That's all they want.
Yeah, and you know, I was just literally thinking there, that'd be a great idea because the pitch, sorry, because Everton obviously have sold the squares.
Yeah.
With your name on it.
They all sell out like that.
Yeah, they sell out like that. And okay, you can go down and look at it and it'll be there forever. But imagine if they cut that pitch up into the same size squares.
And you owned it.
And you owned
Imagine how much the penalty spot would go for. Or the centre spot.
No, but every piece would be equal. And
no, some would be more equal.
No, but if you said every piece is equal and we've worked it all out, we know how many there are and we're going to sell them at, I don't know what the price should be, and then you own those fans own that pitch forever because it's going to, obviously with the new stadium, it's going to outlive all of us.
Innovation is an overused word because there's nothing really new under the sun, is there, except how you choose to apply it.
Yeah.
Because remember when it was in vogue 10, 15, 20 years ago and Christmas would rock up and you'd open up your present and it was like a little tin box and it says, you're now the laird of the back of beyond on some Scottish island.
Or the other one is...
And it was 100 quid.
Or the other one is...
It's worthless.
You now own that star. No, that
That's
one.
the one,
That
yeah.
one over. That if you just squint,
That's
look
your star.
that way and go like that. That's your star.
You own that one.
You own that star.
And you bought it.
So does he, and so does he, and so does he, and so does he, and so does he. But like, yeah, we'd all fall into the trap. Oh, look what I've bought you. Money can't buy. Well, it can because you bought it. Money can't buy this. You own a piece of the moon. That bit of rock on the moon, that's yours. Like, and it's why not do that? Why that'd be a brilliant way of getting.
But owning a share in Everton Football Club is an intangible asset in many respects because it doesn't move much beyond one of my lads, having his certificate hanging up in his office. It's true. It's real.
Yeah.
He owns 135,000th of this wonderful football club, right? Well, if he could afford to own 10 135,000th, he would.
Yeah.
And so on and so on and so forth, right? So ultimately, there are I could go into a room with you. Me and Baz have had this conversation. We could go in a room with a flip chart and just come up with ideas of generating money. And I just fear that most football clubs, if you had their commercial guy in the room with you, so you were doing this brainstorming, 16, 17, 18 of the 20 will be going, that won't work. No, that won't work. We thought about that, but it won't work. And I said to Baz when we were doing this earlier in the week, if the times I got told that wouldn't work or you'll never win that deal, I wouldn't have had as much fun as I'd had.
Yeah.
Because where there's
Part
a
of
will,
it, innit?
yeah, absolutely. Where there's a will, there's a way. And ticketing's the same thing. I mean, you have some interesting views on ticketing, like in the new stadium, there should only be existing season ticket holders go into there. Right?
Yeah, no, I have no issue with that. I have no issue.
Not very good for the 35,000 on the waiting list.
I've said this before, and I don't mind saying it again. It's my opinion. For the first 3 years, there shouldn't be any new season ticket holders, and I have no issue with that. That might sound
selfish.
That might sound selfish. But I'll tell you right now, I am enduring that selfishness right now. No, I firmly believe for the first 3 years, Everton have an opportunity to see where the land lies, give your current season ticket holders, very loyal season ticket holders, an opportunity to know where they want to be within the stadium. You might pick a seat and I've said this loads of times, you mightn't like it. So you get maybe another opportunity next season. I want to be there. Well, that's going to be difficult if someone rocks up and picks a seat and is glad to have a seat anywhere they want. Because they've never had the season ticket or they've been on the waiting list for so long. I've said before, for me, if you're on the waiting list right now, you should be guaranteed a seat for the next 3 years. No issue whatsoever. Next 3 years, but it's not strictly a season ticket because you might move from game to game or season.
Stadium's too small for that.
For what?
To do what you just said. Everyone on the waiting list is guaranteed.
No, not everyone on the waiting list. If you're on the waiting list, if you're top and you get a seat. And we get because again, the way Everton look. I mean, as you mentioned, I sent you that podcast. There's a lot. Spurs are obviously the gist is a lot of problems with Spurs. They need the ticket prices to remain the same to pay their debt on the stadium. The simple fact is, as the fans get older and hit that senior citizen thing, their complaint is, well, immediately. You're not giving up those tickets.
Their income goes down.
And your income's coming down. Now, I understand.
They've got an ageing fan base.
Like, probably we all... It's not... I don't think it's an ageing fan base, if you think about it. It's like anything in life. We're already... and I include myself, I'll have had... When we move into the season to the stadium, that'll be my 23rd season as a season ticket holder.
I'll be on 50, I think.
Yeah, well, I mean, listen, I've been
not far off anyway. Yeah,
obviously I've been going since the 80s, but
25 from 75,
you didn't need a season. You didn't need a season ticket when I was
at the start of the season, so I can have a 50th anniversary. Yeah.
You didn't need a season ticket when I was a teenager. You just didn't need one.
Well, you just go and look when we were winning everything. Yeah. You could just walk up on the day and get in.
So you've got obviously we're not relinquishing our season tickets. People are living longer. We're working longer, so we've probably got
money for longer.
More people now have already paid off their mortgages and everything, and I've got maybe somewhere in London. I've got nice houses that can generate money for them. So the club will go, you don't really need discount. I mean, listen, I'm not going to get into that. That's a different argument.
Discount's a funny word, actually. I think it's moderately disrespectful, right?
So what would you say instead? Service.
Yeah, in a way.
Yeah. You've put the hours in, you've put the years in. You know, you're not working, so why shouldn't you benefit? But the problem is, as you're still a season ticket, and as I'm still a season ticket as we get older, that's preventing younger people. And obviously this is the problem that a lot of football clubs are having at the moment. The podcast we were listening to was more to do with foreign fans coming in. It was. And stuff. But see,
if you're going to exercise, we're doing the brainstorming now by the looks of it, right? But simple example would be, how do you breach that gap, right, between what you sort of want as a selfish existing season ticket holder and someone else like Boxy might want, who's been waiting for God knows how many years to get a ticket, right? A season ticket, I mean, right? Even though he managed to go to every game home and away. Well in him sort of thing. And the adaptation of what you said, I offered, and we chatted about it, and you've just spat some of it out as well. If the club, which I think they are hovering around the idea there'll be around 42,000 season ticket holders, right?
Yeah.
Clearly 32,000-ish will be already season ticket holders, and the other 10 come off the waiting list.
Yeah.
Still leaves 20-odd thousand on the waiting list, right? But your view, which we modified together, was, well, these extra 10,000, they're not full season ticket holders yet, right? What they are people who will be guaranteed a seat in the stadium for the season that they get given that. And I think Man United used to call it like match ticket holders rather than season ticket holders, right? So you're a match ticket holder, so you know you're going to get that same seat in the South Stand for the whole of 25-26 season. But at the end of the season, it's still the 32,000 in quotes proper season ticket holders who get first dibs on all seats, right? And those 10,000 would still get next dibs. So you're just putting up a hierarchy, aren't you, really? I also actually think that as part of that, and this is where it gets a bit naughty if you're the person who thinks you should get a season ticket and you don't, clearly if it's a match day ticket, season ticket we'll call it, I'll have to come up with a name, right?
Memberships?
Then it'll be less than full ticket price, but the discount will be far smaller than what a season ticket holder gets, right? And therefore you're balancing the gap in income. And so when you finally become, however long they determine it would be, a full season ticket holder, you're instantly going to get the full season ticket holders discount. But the thought that you, with 23 years of season ticket, get exactly the same price as the guy who's on the season ticket for 1 year, clearly there's no recognition there of loyalty.
Well, we're going to get that soon at some club, aren't we? Some club soon is going to decide
tiered down
that the only benefit you get from being a season ticket is you are guaranteed a ticket, and that is your benefit.
Absolutely.
The ticket price will...
I can agree with that.
The ticket price will be exactly the same as if someone just walks up and buys one or manages to buy one.
Yeah, that's where they're going.
That's they'll give, is your loyalty, you get a seat. That's yours till you give it up. But it's going to be full price. And that's coming. That's 100% coming. And I think what we've seen from Spurs, that they're sort of showing that. We've gone off topic slightly. But
what's the topic?
What have we learned this week?
Well, look, we've learned that you can press a button because you've listened to something about pricing and debt and stuff like that and go off at a tangent.
Yeah.
But so we're back to RMF, Simon Goodley's article, But we're also about, aren't we, the delay of 777 not happening next week? Or
let's just Monday. Is it Monday that was supposed to the debt's supposed to be paid to MFD?
15th, Sunday. So we would
working day. We'll say Monday.
Yeah.
So let's say Monday. What do you think will happen on Monday?
Nothing.
They will have given an extension, or 777 just can't pay it.
No. I think on Monday, if we do hear anything, right, it'll either be an extension has been granted, or 777 have paid off the debt.
Okay, so it's just one or the other.
Yeah. Because I no insider trading here, guys. But if 777 have come all this way and doing all this battling and handing over these hundreds of millions of pounds, it just appears to be beyond belief, as some people would believe, that they don't have the money.
History tells us that 777
do everything at the last minute.
Beyond the last minute.
Well,
they wait for the red notice to come through, don't they? They wait for the lawyer to turn up at the door and say and instruct.
So what kind of person are you? Do you pay a bill as soon as it comes, or the last minute?
I pay as soon as it comes now. No, the way I look at it, right? This is the way I look at it, right?
Fair dues.
If I owe something and it doesn't come out till the 17th, and I get paid on the 1st, I pay it on the 1st.
That's because you don't trust yourself.
It's not. It's just a simple. For me, it's just a simple fact of
Suboptimal.
I have budgeted them for the. I know. I don't want that hanging over my head.
Suboptimal.
Okay, and it's done. It's done.
Suboptimal.
It has to be paid anyway. It's getting paid with that same amount of money.
Suboptimal.
So it might as well be paid at the first rather than 17.
Suboptimal.
Okay.
Do you have a credit card?
I've got 3 credit cards.
Do you use them?
No, there's not a penny on them.
Why not?
Because I got them just to.
That's suboptimal as
I
well.
got them just to pay something off. I paid it off, and
That was it.
I think they're good for your
Right.
credit.
So you pay for everything now.
No, I don't. Actually, I am.
So how do you pay for fuel in your car?
I do pay for it right now because it's a right now thing.
No, I pay for it in 60 days.
No.
45 days.
Because then I'd be paying every 60 days.
Every 45 or whatever.
No, so I have a card. Just didn't really go into this. So I have a card,
Yeah.
right? People might know it's called a Monza card,
Yeah, I've heard of those.
right? Really good if you're going abroad,
Yeah, yeah.
right?
Yeah, yeah.
Really good. And when I was in America, I found this cheat with it, and I didn't realise it was. And basically, it's like half a credit card.
Right.
So basically, I went to a fancy restaurant, took my missus there for something to
In
eat.
New York?
Yeah, the bill was quite high.
Quite high.
Paid with
hundreds of dollars, it sounds like.
paid with this card.
Yeah.
And instantly, it come up on my phone. You can split this into installments.
Oh, yeah, yeah.
No, I know.
Everyone does that.
No interest over 3 months, and I was like, "Well, I'm in America.
Oh, no, not with no interest. That sounds good.
Yeah, no interest for 3 months. I'm in America. I've got a budget, and I'm thinking I can pay for this when I go home. I don't need to pay for this now. So I do pay for quite a lot of things that are. Like me Hugh I eat,
Yeah.
right?
He eats lots of this stuff.
Right. So I eat it every day.
Yeah, yeah.
So I was buying it monthly.
Okay.
And what I realised was, if I bought it every 3 months, I'd get a discount. So I bought it with
Purchasing, you know.
So I bought it with this Monza card,
Yeah.
paid it over 3 months, so I'm still paying for it monthly.
Yeah.
But they think I'm paying for it every 3 months, so I get the discount and I still pay.
That's sensible.
Yeah. So
That's sensible budgeting.
there's little things
But
like
why pay for something today when you can pay for it in 45 days' time?
because the way I look at it, right, is if it's something that can take 3 months and there's nothing in between, if that makes sense. But I know I'll go back and pay for more fuel. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but still pay for it in 45
I know, but I'm
days.
just that's kicking the can down the road to me.
Well, you're suboptimal.
No, that's kicking the can down
Mate,
the road.
it took me years, right, and when it was a thing, for me to explain to my missus, right, buy it with a credit card. If you can't use a credit card, use a check. And if all else fails, use cash.
Okay.
Because
I never buy
cash
anything
is
cash.
king. Cash is king, right? Now, clearly, when they say the trust thing, if a month later, because it's always going to be a month when your card bill comes,
Yeah.
even though not all the transactions, you suddenly get shafted with a £2,000 bill or something. You think, oh my God. Hence the trust thing. If you've spent the money,
Yeah.
right? But if you just show a bit of discipline, mate, pay everything as late as you can.
No, I know what you mean. I'm just yeah, I'm a bit of this, I'm halfway one way and halfway the other. I maybe sometimes I'm like, I don't quite trust myself with large purchases.
Do you know the best way to improve your credit rating?
Is buying stuff.
Borrow money and pay it back.
Yeah.
So my credit rating's 999, and it'll always be, because every month thousands of pounds goes through my card, and every month I pay it off.
I don't know how we got onto this, but there we go.
777
Yeah.
pay at the last minute.
They do pay at the
So
last
they're
minute.
efficient with their money, which can be interpreted as they're scrambling around to look for it.
Isn't it more they are looking to move it round rather than scrambling around to find it? Isn't it just moving it with them in effect?
It might be. You see, it depends whether you choose to do a half full or a half empty version of why they've asked for an extension. If indeed
right.
they have.
Let me just
I'm
ask you a
guessing they
question,
have,
mate.
Right?
777.
777.
Is any of it their money? And I don't mean that in a negative way, because they use.
They say the business model is it is their money.
Okay.
Reality is when you get to transactions of this scale, it won't all be their money, will it?
Just
like it's not MSP's
well,
money.
I was going to say
it's not RMF's money. It's not Metro Bank's money.
Are they?
It's not. You know.
Are they nothing? I mean, this is are they essentially a hedge fund?
No.
Okay, tell me the difference between a hedge fund and what they do, because they are using a lot of.
Really?
No, but honestly,
This time on a Friday?
you'll just simplify it. You can do that. What they use a lot of people's money.
They're
like
an investment platform.
insurance money.
They're an investment platform. Yeah.
They use a lot of insurance money. They use a lot of pensions, I believe, or I've seen something.
Any entity that's prepared to invest in their platform, and then they make the decisions on where to invest that money.
So what's the difference between that and a hedge fund?
Well, a hedge fund is just trying to balance out risks on two different things, and this isn't doing that.
So what are those two different things?
Well, it depends what the hedge is hedging.
I don't know. I thought a hedge fund was lots and lots of people chip in to a fund, and then
take the word hedge out just to say an investment.
I thought that was just because they all do it in gardens and they don't want anyone to see them.
If you're doing hedging really, really efficiently,
Yeah.
right, you sort of bet on something happening, because it's like a bet.
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
You bet on something happening, and if you know that happens, you're going to make some money.
Yeah.
But if you know that doesn't happen, you would have made some money somewhere else.
Yeah.
So you, quote, hedge your bet.
Yeah. So you have
like betting on both horses.
So you have
I might
play both sides.
When I'm in a particularly sad mode, right, and I'm paranoid that I really don't want Luton to win a particular game, then, and they're playing Everton, right, I might bet on them to win because my brain says it's going to make them lose, right?
I can't do that.
But you can actually do it with betting and gambling for real, because you can bet on, say, a game where you know, for example, you bet on Luton to win, but you know they lose. It's probably because the other team has scored more goals, and therefore you might bet on how many goals the other team are going to score, and you won't necessarily turn a loss into a win, but you might reduce your losses.
Okay.
And it's that sort of thing. But just think of 777 as an investment platform.
Purely investment company. So they take other people's money, and that's not a bad.
Invest it.
I'm not saying that. When I say other people's money, I'm not being.
Well, anyone out there who's got a pension, that's what your pension company's doing.
Yeah.
They're investing your contributions in businesses. Typically FTSE 100 businesses, granted, but businesses.
So they found the model.
ISAs, what are they doing?
They found 777 have found the model.
It's not a particularly new model, mate.
No, but they found the model that works for them, and instead of maybe companies, they've gone to football clubs, trying to create a pyramid within that football club structure. Everton are going to be the top of that because they're a Premier League club and because they're getting a new shiny stadium, which I'm sure is part of it. But they are obviously trying to get money from one place or another or moving it around from one place or another to.
When you say moving it around, what do
well,
you
it
mean?
does feel like they are moving money from one place to it doesn't.
No, sorry.
Go on. No, I'm here to be educated. I'm here to be educated.
Because we just hit the bloody elephant in the room, right?
Go on.
So some people would project a view that what they're doing is using one credit card bill to pay off another.
Yeah.
Right. That's what you mean by moving the money around. I don't know whether they are doing that, right? And no one will know.
No.
Therefore, the people who are saying they are just basing that on opinion, and an alternative opinion might be they're not. Proof of the pudding is where do they keep getting 20 or 30 quid a month every single month, right? And so when you look at an organisation like that, it's got a lot of noise around it, they're either using their own money, which people claim they haven't got. So let's believe that person or people who say they haven't got.
Well, let's just do both sides of it.
That's what I mean. We'll do it. The people or person, we'll just say it's a person, right? The person who says, well, they haven't got money, therefore it can't be their own money. Okay, park that then. It's not their money. Whose is it? It must be somebody else's. So that somebody else trusts their money with them.
Yeah. Okay.
So you see what I mean? It's like if you've got a negative argument about it, you can try and just look at something from a different place round a circle where we're looking into the middle of 777 and looking from here, we go, they haven't got any money. And over there's a guy going, but they keep giving me 20 million every month.
Yeah.
Well, it's not their own money. Well, it must be from someone else's money then.
Yeah.
Well, there's someone else must trust them. What does someone else know that you don't know? And then you go, huge interest. Oh, okay. So the risk profile is worth it for those other people. But one day they'll have to pay them. And this is your Ponzi, your pyramid schemes and all that. And that's how they fall apart. So you'll get people into the foothills of claiming that's what it is. An alternative might simply be they've got a number of investors behind them who are interested in investing in football clubs. They can see a distressed asset called Everton Football Club and they can see a really attractive return. Now, curiously, MSP didn't see it that attractive because they weren't prepared to go the whole hog.
Is MSP
same sort of company?
The same business model?
In black and white terms, yeah, absolutely. They've got investors behind them. They pull it together. I mean, the SEC thing, you had it on the desk over there the other day. No, the filing that showed that they collected this money and where they collected it from. I can't remember how many people it was it 10 or 13 or something, right? So they say, well, we've collected money from 10 or 13 different people, investors, and we're going to use that to invest in football. And that's what MSP said. And our understanding at the moment is that George Downing, AJ Bell, and Farhad Moshiri are each one of those people. So then you would say that, where did MSP get the allegedly £150 million that they've lent to Everton so far? From people like George Downing, AJ Bell, and Farhad Moshiri. But we don't know who they are for real. We certainly don't. No one's offered a view of who the other 7 or 9 people are, or whatever it is. Therefore, when people say, "Oh, it's a bit shady because you don't know where the money's actually coming from," that's how investment funds work.
Yeah. No. Yeah.
You know. Yeah. Now, whether they, whoever they are, whether it's 777 or MSP, share who their investors are with the regulator, in this case the Premier League, or in future an independent one, is a different matter. And maybe, just maybe, part of the changes in rules that are needed are to beef up the ultimate owner type rule. Yeah. Right? Because right now, the rules will have suggested that the ultimate owner of Everton is Farhad Moshiri, right? And lots of people will say that's balderdash. Yeah. Yeah. And yet, they satisfied the regulator that is actually it. Yeah. Right. So they're all the same, but they're all different. And I think it's difficult for anybody to throw stones at the model per se. I mean, you can not. When I say model, I don't mean anyone's execution of the model. I mean the actual structure itself. Taking money from multiple investors, right? Funneling down into a single thing, that's a common model. Yeah. We talked about it 10 minutes ago. Football fans owning the football stadium. Tens of thousands of Evertonians all chipping in some money, and the net result is they own a percentage of half a stadium.
Well, in Germany, they own half of a club. In Spain, they own... The all members own all of Barcelona.
And that's where swinging all the way back around the block to Mark Chapman and Gabby Logan talking about, well, maybe, just maybe, that's where Premier League football clubs are going. You know, Tottenham's of this world, move them from season ticket holders to members. And members can buy tickets, right? And then you could have a whole raft of products about how many tickets do you want to buy, yeah? And you, Ped, might say, I want to buy a ticket for every single Premier League or League game for the rest of my life. And they say, okay, you're in this category then. Someone else might say, I want to buy 6 games a season. Someone else might... And they've tested that, Everton, in the new stadium, of course, because some of the hospitality offerings were for, you can buy an offering where for the league games, you get 19 seats, but you only get food 6 times. Yeah. You know, that sort of thing. Yeah. Some people want food 19 times, some want it 12 times, some want it 6 times, because they don't want a big slap-up meal every time they go to the ground. So that's where it's not innovative in the big bad world, but it might be perceived as innovative within the football industry.
Excellent. So on Monday,
plenty of opportunity.
On Monday, if they rock up and buy, sort this out, with MSP,
so they pay them off or get an extension.
So is that, if they do pay though, is that basically them officially rubber stamping the ownership of the club? Do you think?
If again, it gets complicated, doesn't it? Right, because the debt to MSP is the football clubs. Right, so I guess mechanically, somebody will give the football club sufficient money to pay off MSP. Yeah, and what is that? The highest number I've seen is what, 168 million. I don't get that, but apparently, maybe that's just an accumulation of interest. Who knows? But if that gets paid off, ultimately by 777, i.e., 777 give the money to the football club to pay off MSP, or act as a paying agent on behalf of the club, whatever the mechanism is. Then they must know that they've been told yes back Premier League, mustn't they? Right? Whether we'd find out about it next week, whichever thing happens, I don't know. Yeah. The only one I can assume you or we for sure would find out about would be if MSP pulled the rug. Yeah. So, we're exercising this now, on Farhad Moshiri. Maybe we'd get to find that out. The other one we might not. You'd like to think there'd be some form of statement. The football club are well aware that everyone knows there's a deadline, so they should tell us what happens when the deadline comes and goes. Yeah. I'm going to look a real numpty, but my current assumption would be that it gets extended.
No, it probably will. Knowing everything we know about it, what we've had so far, it probably will drag on because everything seems to have dragged on, hasn't it? So but again, once we're in limbo, aren't we? And
I do think, though, or suspect. Think sounds like I know something, but I do suspect that if we set aside for a minute the binary nature of people's perceptions of 777 as an organisation and just look at the why is it dragging a bit. And you don't go down the rabbit hole of it's because they haven't got the money. Let's just go down a rabbit hole where they have got the money. So why is it dragging? Maybe they've got options. That's all I can think. Yeah. We can get it from there, or we can get it from there, or we can get it from there. And you know what wouldn't surprise me? Because he's a pain in the backside to work with. If Farhad Mashiri isn't changing his mind about how he wants the optics to look. And this might not be a popular thought, but I suspect he's doing his damnedest to do what he thinks is good for the football club. I do think that.
Interesting. For someone who hasn't said much.
Well, he never said much, really.
No. I'm just saying.
And when he did speak, we knew why he didn't say much, because he always put his foot in it, right?
Yeah. For someone who hasn't said much, though, it'd be interesting to see what happens. But
remember what I said to Baz when I was on the sofa? We did BWB this time last week, I think. Maybe we recorded Thursday, and I because I'm an eternal optimist, I said the promised land is just there. It's just it's almost within reach, but there's water between us and it.
Yeah.
Right. So as long as we can get over that water, everything will look.
No.
It's sunny over there.
This is the argument.
It is sunny over there.
Yeah, I've done stuff this week with opposition fans and. A lot of it was tongue in cheek, but there is an underlying thing of like you're dead, and it's like, or you've got your X amount in debt, and I'm like, yeah, but don't forget, we do actually have something for that debt. It's not Everton have been in.
We're going to go through a terraced house to get in Luton's ground, aren't we? So
yeah, I mean, don't get like I was saying, it's like we might have debt, but we have something for our debt.
We can see it.
We can see it. It's there. It's It's tangible. It's for as bad as it all seems, it's not like we have also on the other hand spent a lot of money. If we were in £1 billion worth of debt, I'm not saying we are, and it was all players that had come at 5-year contracts, we paid them and they all left for free. That's a different. But we're a little bit on that side, of course we are, but we very much got a stadium that is. It is every day for all the doom and gloom you hear about it, every day it is processing. I was only watching a video last night, a Mr. Drone video, and they've started doing where the steps are on the west, they've started doing all the paving at the bottom, and the paving it's not cheap. It doesn't look cheap. It's really good stuff, and they've started.
It's Baxendale quality, isn't it?
For their house, definitely. They've started cutting. You can start sort of seeing the channel now of where the water's going to go through. Every day it's getting more and more. No one's stopping. I don't know what's going on in the inside and whether, maybe I don't know.
Fitting out, yeah.
Yeah, they're doing the fitting out, and listen, I don't know what the pace of that is.
Well, as of July last year, we'd spent over £400 million on it, right? And of course, nearly another year has passed by, yeah. And I'm pretty sure that we're into the last sub 100 million. To finish it, right. So there must be a lot of going on inside as well.
Yeah.
And the club did tell us this. It's going to come a point when you don't think much is progressing because it's all going on inside, right? But in a very objective sense about how these things get carried away, and people get emotional and all those sorts of things. There is no doubt that in objective fiscal terms, we are flying close to the wind.
Of course, yeah.
Right. But anyone who's ever been on a sailboat, closer you get, faster you go. So, and it's a game of jeopardy, isn't it? Ocean going races, they're at their fastest. Motorcycling version.
Yeah.
Give a motorcycle one, it's easiest. I used to ride 2-stroke motorcycles.
Yeah.
At ridiculous speeds. Whatever the maximum speed was, that's what I would do on it, right? And there's
what happened with that, John?
No, it's a 4-stroke, I felt.
Okay.
Yeah. I'm talking about when I raced. If you know what they are, if you're older, I used to race TZ Yamahas, right? But anyway, there's a game about 2-stroke because of the way that the compression works and the way you get your power and stuff like. A 2-stroke engine is at its most efficient just before it seizes.
Okay.
Right? So the trick is to get as close to seizure as you can without seizing.
Yeah.
that means when I'm hammering down the back straight, you know, at it's like Aintree, which was a bit bouncy anyway, but and the little butte, you know, little 2-stroke 350cc thing is zing, you know, it's going like the clappers. When it hits peak speeds, peak revs, I'm living the dream of jeopardy because it could seize.
Yeah.
And if it seizes, I'm gone, right? But if it doesn't seize, I get a new lap record.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. It's always. I mean,
So there's nothing free in this life.
Formula One. It's the
Same
risk
thing.
takers, isn't it?
Same thing. Formula One is just 4-stroke engines, or used to be back in its day, with loads and loads of cylinders, so it could kick out the sort of power that a 2-stroke would, you know, because you know the way the compression thing works. But yeah, I mean, Formula One, they're always on the edge, and we all see it when they crash. They crash big, don't they?
Yeah.
You know?
Well, that's it. You got to be brave.
Yeah.
James W says on Wednesday he read out an article on MSP. You read out an article on MSP McLaren. The historical event that you read out is this weekend. It's McLaren's 950th F1 start.
Well, there you go. Thank you, sir. Thank you.
There you go. Did someone else put something? I'll find in a minute. No, it's. I mean, I hate almost all this stuff, but there's so much stuff out there, isn't there? There was an article yesterday, an Everton insider said Everton are, you know, sailing close to the wind.
I can assure you, no Everton insiders are saying absolutely anything to any media, unless it's, you know, the man who works, you know, 2 or 3 rungs down the line is just office gossip type stuff. Either that or it's just made up. But yeah, you don't have to read the accounts to see how close we are to lots of scary things.
Just on going back to the stadium, do you think
it's nice, isn't it?
Oh, it's amazing. I can't wait. So what? Again with the payments, is there still one big chunk left to pay? As in, like, have we got to hand over a check to?
Yeah, I don't know how whether it's changed over time, but fundamentally, what we were doing with, and Farhad Mashiri told me this himself, right? We were paying in advance, effectively.
Yeah.
We were saying, well, here's a bit like you do with a builder, I suppose. Here's some money to do the next phase. And when you finish the next phase, you know, to my acceptable standard, I'll give you money for the next one, next one. Yeah. And I think the football club and Lango Rourke have a good rapport and a good relationship, I think. Because I think the football club bent, stretched, whatever you want to call it, a little bit to help Lango Rourke over the challenges in the industry and stuff, which had obviously got us a bit of bad press because people started throwing stones about, thought this was fixed price and all those sorts of things. And as we found out with the hospital, a fixed price deal where the company goes out of business means nothing, right?
Liverpool have had 2 companies.
Exactly.
I mean, not picking on them. I'm just saying Liverpool have had 2 companies that have gone bust while they've been building this Carillion with the big stand and more recently with the other stand.
So Lango Rourke and Everton have worked effectively together to make sure that doesn't happen. Yeah.
Which they've had to, haven't they? Because it's such a big project.
Oh, totally.
And it's not changes such, but there's so much different stuff going on at the moment, and things change all the time. I noticed yesterday that even things like they've changed the entrance now to how you get into the actual plot. You know, the build plot. Well, the plot of land.
Yeah. To get inside the wall.
The wall, because they're rebuilding the wall where the old gate used to be.
Oh, I
so
see.
the gate that was slap bang in the middle to get into it, into the fan zone. Yeah. That's now shut. They're building that. They're going to start building that wall, and they're getting onto it by going into the proper gate now at the end, which is right next to where the water treatment is. So that's the new way of getting in. Because I know yesterday Mr. Dome was showing it because
where the away teams are getting that way.
But that's what I'm saying. It's like that's the proper way in now. So they're getting rid of
people at that end of the ground in a way. There's almost like an entrance just for
well, it's not actually the entrance because it's the entrance and then there's the proper entrance next to it. Where this entrance is actually United Utilities side of things, and that'll be blocked eventually. That they're giving that land back to them, aren't they? That'll be their land. So there's things moving all the time. There's still that idea, I think, in a lot of people's heads of like, will it be I don't know. Will it be finished? You know, will he have the money to finish it? There's still that thing. Yeah. There's still that thing going round, isn't it?
But again, it doesn't help when we have mixtures of narrative, right? You know, and Stefan was enjoying himself yesterday, quoting I think him and Ryan were having a bit of a ding-dong, Ryan Williams.
Yeah.
Anyone who knows that, you're not going to make Ryan blink, are you? You know, he just keeps going. Just keeps pounding out the miles sort of thing. But he was quoting, you know, accounts from 5 years ago where it was said this, and accounts from this year where it said that, and it says this in the judgment and so on. And people just want to see what they want to see. Yeah, but you've got to try and look at this, not through rose-tinted specs, but also not with a black hat as well, and just see what it really says.
Yeah.
You know, the guy was trying to convince Ryan that the USM stuff was just for Finch Farm, and it was clearly way too much.
Yeah.
You know, no, it wasn't just for Finch Farm.
No, it wasn't. It
But
was.
the clue's in the name. No, read the judgment. You know, so, and it doesn't help. You know, and that's when we get into who's paying for the thing, and you know, and all those sorts of things, and how much is it going to cost? Because these are moving feasts all the time, aren't they?
Yeah.
But I've not heard any you know, raising of 760. So maybe 760 is now the final build cost for the whole project. 760 million.
Yeah, there's been loads of stories through the whole build about the stadium. Some of them have been.
It's not a traffic cone, though, is it?
Yeah, no, people have said I've heard people, oh, it's going to be delayed because of this or that, and you're like, it's not. And then obviously you get the news of like when it's going to be handed over in December, but we're not going to move into it, obviously, until the beginning of the following season. And there is stuff like that where it's like two different stories get merged into one, and it's like, well, there's not a delay on it; it'll still be finished in December. It's just that we're not moving into then. So I think there's a lot of stories that get merged into one, and people take the bad side of it. The club have made the decision. I still don't quite understand why you would make a decision not to move into a stadium, unless there's other things planned, non-football.
Well, we know from, again, another interview that we did with Paul Gregg, where he wanted to put events on at the new stadium. We was told no events are going to take place until there's a football match in there for the men's first team, which is clearly a communication challenge.
Yeah. Because
that doesn't mean the fact that there are going to be events, because the club said there will be, just suggests they're not going to be with Paul Gregg, really. Yeah. But again, consistency of messaging. You know, we're talking about consistency of judgments and PSR. You need consistency of messaging as well. Yeah. You really do. I got an email today from the club asking me if I want to buy the commemorative thingy for my season ticket.
Oh, yeah.
I haven't already bought it.
I've got two.
Now I've had to send a message to someone saying, I did buy it, didn't I?
Yeah.
I am getting one. And you know what? That's all overhead then.
Well,
That's all overhead on your customer service.
Well, I'm sure loads of people will be similar to me. I mean, and we've bought ones, but the brick. But I've had like no acknowledgement of it.
Oh, you're talking about the
in
pavements?
The ground.
Yeah.
But we bought it.
Ditto.
But have we had the one for our Toffee TV one?
I don't remember.
No. So it almost, and I'm sure other people are going, what happened to that? Because I know people bought like a replica one as well. But it's like, it's almost like when is there going to be some kind of acknowledgement on that?
Well, I've got our granite up behind Dixie, right?
Yeah.
And you know, when that went up on the wall, it was moving to the new stadium. I've still never got an answer out the club when I keep saying,
we've got one from my dad.
You told me when I bought it was moving, and I've seen in the media that you've told the local community it's staying. Well, how about telling me? It's a small point. But then I went to look at the mental health centre in Spellow Lane, you know, and they've got a walkway with things with bricks in, which I paid for one. You can't see my name on it because they picked a type of brick that it wears off dead quick.
Oh, my God.
So it's all little itsy-bitsy teeny things where you can be accused of being a pain in the arse because you think, well, I'd at least like to have seen my name on it once before the rain washed it away. So just telling us where ours would be, wouldn't it?
Yeah.
When you come in and there's the south stand, yours is going to be in the middle or it's going to be around the corner or, you know. But maybe they just haven't got that far yet.
No. Well, just have an acknowledgement that it's been bought. Yeah. Christopher Amon says, hi lads, from a Toffee in Switzerland, previously China, Japan and Malaysia.
Wow, you've travelled a bit, yeah. Are you on the run?
I was going to say, you on like race across the world or something?
Yeah.
Maybe you just had a big holiday and it's just been those places in the last few weeks.
No. Financial career. Yeah.
Kevin Rex, sounds that way, doesn't it? Kevin Rex says, I've learned that we are one, if not the worst run clubs in the country. My only hope is the new owners equals better communication with the fans and media. Also, better decision making by the club in both the transfer and commercial markets would help to make me feel better about Everton. The last 3 seasons and probably the whole of the Machine era has been a complete and utter disaster. I can't wait for something, in fact, anything to change. Get it sorted, Everton now. Yeah, I think there's a lot of that feeling.
You know what's amusing is we could do a whole show on the definition worst run club.
Yeah, oh yeah,
I think Man United might actually be the worst run club.
What else have we got here? James Wallen says, who agreed to a deal where the interest is a third of the money you've borrowed just for 1 year? Are these people lending us money like the payday loan market of a couple of years ago?
I think interest generally is associated with the level of risk that the lender thinks they're taking.
Yeah.
And some of this RMF is a good example. Yeah. I think we're intended to be short-term loans, and the interest rates typically are very high for those.
Yeah.
Remember, that was just typically, in the early days, a bridging loan between broadcast payments. And now it's being used to build a stadium. So, yes. Yeah. Bit painful, to say the least.
Brad says, afternoon, gents. How many points and what position in the table will we be sat at come the end of the season? You've got a model for this, haven't you, John?
The computer says we'll have 38 points. That's pre any additional points deductions, if indeed we do get any. I'm comfortably staying up on that basis.
Oh, you know, I'm going to go 30. What are we on? 7? 27?
29.
No, we're on 29, aren't
we?
No, we're not. We have lost 2 points. We're 27,
27 then. Yeah, okay.
I
don't recognise 2 points.
I'll go 36.
Okay. Me and Teresa do it in the car when we're going to away games and stuff, and I think we're on 36 and 37.
Yeah.
And the computer says 38. But
I'll go 36.
My same computer told me to vote to put money on Atalanta last night, and I just cleaned up.
There you go. Jez D says, afternoon, I heard about all these innovative approaches to tickets and commercial activity, but do we have any idea why we have so many people and so little traction with new revenue streams? Is everyone caught in a super old school hierarchy? I just fail to understand why the club has drifted for so long. I know right now we're in limbo, but it feels like we'd have to have a new broom. The whole leadership team across departments is such a basic case of a business.
Lack of executive leadership was the answer. I mean, it was very narrow leadership. Baxendale ran the place with a baseball bat, my way or the highway type behaviour. She reported to Bill. Bill talks to Farhad. Yeah, Farhad can be 3 sheets in the wind sometimes. Very few of those people below Farhad made real decisions without checking if it was okay, and that becomes part of the culture. Yeah, and it means, and I've said this many times in previous careers and here, and particularly under the days of Elston. Yeah, I don't think we ever knew whether Elston could ever have been a good chief exec. We might intuitively think no. But he never got the chance to prove it one way or the other, because he always had an immediate boss who just told him what to do.
Well, I feel the same way about the directors of football.
Same thing.
I don't think Marcel Brands
wasn't allowed
ever got an opportunity to literally run this football club.
Yeah,
the way
Kev's got a bit closer, but still he gets hamstrung.
And I think that's the feeling amongst a lot of people that we talk to at the football club is my hands are tied. I've got ideas. I'd like to do this. I'd like to do that, but I can't. They've been risk averse for years, and it's where other people have been leading innovation. There's been an opportunity, Evan, and they've never, because they just go back to the old school of doing things. So years and years ago, I remember I've said this story before. I picked a guy up, and he used to work at Everton, and he was working at Liverpool. Doing a lot of commercial stuff, a lot of wheeling and dealing for different people. And he used to just say, when he worked at Everton, their clients who were their old clients, and he used to pay by checks, and certain people at Everton go, don't cash that. Good customer him. And the guy go, of course he's a good customer. You never cash his checks. Obviously, he moved on to Liverpool. He was, and he said that was the mentality. And this was a few years back now. That was the mentality.
This is no criticism of any single individual, right? But an organisation that's behaved and been led the way Everton have been led for the last 15, 20 years, and I'm only saying that because that's really long term, right? Whether it's 30 years or long, it doesn't really matter. Actually, in real life, the last 5 years are bad enough, right? But anyone who's been brought up in that environment, and there's plenty of people at any business who will be their man and boy or girl and woman and all that sort of stuff. But anyone who's been in that world, that is an excuse.
Yeah.
A ready excuse.
Okay.
And all I would say is, if 100 people in a particular organisation think they've got their hands tied, it's not all of them.
Yeah.
Some of them are just not good enough.
Yeah, fair play.
And the ones who really will thrive when the handcuffs are taken off are in a very, very tiny minority. And I've done business turnarounds, business process and re-engineering, transformation of businesses, blah, 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 at my peak for 10 or 15 years. And I can tell you, mate, as soon as you empower people, you find out that the vast majority of them just can't do it. Doesn't mean they couldn't have done it.
I agree.
Just means they're being driven down to the point where they can't make decisions because they've never been allowed to make them. And if they're still there, they accepted that environment, and it's really difficult then to change it. That's the classic stuck in your ways type thing. You know?
I agree. There's
so
a lot.
You need fresh blood, but fresh leadership with a can-do attitude, who are prepared to trust their staff and empower their staff, can actually make a difference almost overnight.
Yeah, absolutely.
They really can.
No, absolutely. Everton Viking says, aren't they using Blue Owl to finance the takeover?
Rumour.
Yeah. No, again, yeah.
Doesn't mean it's not true.
Yeah.
I think they have multiple options, mate. I really do.
Yeah. I mean, we're a Premier League club. I still don't understand why that. Put it this way, when you're listening to people saying they're going to sink £2 to £3 billion into Birmingham City's infrastructure,
fancy stadium and
parks and all that, and I know that might be part of a bigger vision to where they think if we build a 60,000 seater stadium slap bang in the middle of the UK,
number 2 city,
we might convince the FA to give us England games or semi-finals or whatever it is. I get that, but I can't for the life of me think, well, why wouldn't you spend some of that money on a club that's already in the Premier League and has already got an amazing stadium in a fundamental, not better location as in, but a better looking location which will get all eyes on it. I don't quite understand that.
Maybe because the Birmingham thing will never happen.
Yeah, but the people behind it seem...
Just like the Goodison legacy.
Yeah.
Probably never happened, or certainly not the way it's been envisioned. Yeah. So it's great to do concepts, isn't it?
Yeah.
And now we're going to go and look for the people who may have the $3 billion.
Yeah, so. That's it, yeah. Everton Viking. I haven't watched this week's Shogun, which is amazing. John needs to start watching it.
I've got to watch Kin first.
And
I've got to watch Kin.
Ask me Kin. Watch Kin. Who cares? Shogun, unbelievable. Like, Kin is like there. Shogun is like there in terms of television. It's unbelievable.
And how many episodes has it got?
There's only been 7 so far. It's unbelievable. I mean, a lot of it's in Japanese.
Subtitled or?
Subtitled with one English guy, but he's actually speaking Portuguese, but that's the whole thing. But he is.
So it's not dubbed, it's all.
No, it's proper Japanese actors, some of them very famous, and an English guy who's being very English. His accent is so funny. Just the way
Portuguese accent.
But no, he's English. He's speaking
Portuguese.
Right, he's speaking right. So the Portuguese have come to Japan.
Yeah.
And they're like,
they used to have boats, you know.
They're like missionaries. So loads of the people have learned Portuguese, these Japanese people. And this sailor who's English also knows Portuguese. So when he speaks to people, he's speaking Portuguese, but he's not. He's speaking English. So to us, we hear English, but he's actually. But Japanese people do speak Japanese in it.
Oh, I get it.
Okay. And it's really
the common language was Portuguese,
but most of the time they're speaking Japanese. It is really, really good.
Fights, do they?
Oh, there's some of the battles in it are unbelievably brutal, but it's amazing. It's not. It looks really good as well. They haven't gone cheap on it either, because if they'd gone cheap, it could look bad. So it's really, really good.
On Netflix,
Disney. On Disney, yeah.
Disney produce some really good stuff.
Well, because they own Fox, so it's like FX.
Yeah.
So it's like it's very
pretty much everything they show. You watch, don't you? You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Very few crap shows on it.
Them and Apple, I watch.
Yeah,
Everything.
Apple's the same.
Yeah, I've watched X-Men. X-Men's brilliant this week. That's animation, though. Snobbery. There's a lot of animation snobbery, but I watch a lot of animation, and it's
You watch anything with Marvel on it?
Yeah, and it's unbelievable. There's a lot of snobbery about animation. It's not cartoons, it's animation.
Oh, okay.
But the content is very adult orientated. It's excellent. It still makes me a big kid.
I assume, won't it?
I hope not.
Isn't that just one up from animation?
No, I don't like that.
You want to know it's animation.
This is animation. This is actually it's an animated show from the 90s that they never quite finished. So what they've done is they are finishing it off in a 90s style. But
21st century.
But 21st century, and it looks unbelievable.
You're very free with your adjectives, aren't you?
In what way?
Well, it can't be good, can it? It has to be
No,
unbelievable.
it's unbelievable.
Or amazing.
No, it's amazing. It's amazing. But that's one of the things, though. I don't tend to watch cheap crap, though, because I think if you haven't invested money in the way something looks, then you haven't invested money in anything.
So you're into production value?
Yeah.
Except when you come in here, yeah?
Unbelievable. We have the highest levels of production in this. Abigail says Sheffield... This is an interesting one, and we are finishing off soon.
Putting a party on.
Abigail says Sheffield's in... That's a bad old reference. No one will get that, John. Nobody will get it. I got it because I'm
classic,
old
mate.
also.
It's
I've never seen it.
It's classic.
I've never seen it. I just know the actress.
Go watch Abigail's Party.
I know the actress.
You can't think of her name.
She's not... Is she actually Scouse?
Don't think so.
But she's played quite... Because she's in something now.
She might be.
She's in something on a Friday night now.
Why do you keep saying she? Can't remember her name.
No, I can't remember her name.
Alison.
Yeah. She's the mum out of Gavin and Stacey. That's who it is, isn't it? She's Gavin's mum in Gavin and Stacey.
I shall look at where she's from for
Alison Steadman.
Yeah.
And she's in something at the moment. There's a show on the moment on a Friday night. It's not on. It's finished now, and it's out. A couple of the people who were in Horrible Histories and Ghosts, who are a brilliant group of actors, and she plays a.
No, she is from Liverpool.
Yeah, and she plays a Scouse mum in it. And basically, this whole thing is done through the eyes of someone's filming.
Chilwell Valley High School.
Oh, very good. She's in the show at the moment where someone's always filming. So it's quite modern in terms of someone's always filming. So it's a dead funny. I can't remember what it's called.
But anyway, as you were.
She says Sheffield United will start next season on -2 with 2 points suspended and with no appeal. The Luton CEO is spouting off again about and Nottingham Forest. There's deductions, not being fit for the crime. I think fans owning the pitch is a great idea. She's done loads of things at once there, which is typical Abigail. But the Sheffield United thing...
She pays attention.
The Sheffield United thing's a very interesting thing, though, isn't it? Because, again, like the Leicester thing, this shows there's just no joined-up thinking. Surely Leicester, if they've done something wrong in any league, should have been punished this season. Surely Sheffield United, if they've done something in any league, should be punished this season. This idea that...
Different division.
But it's still the same pyramid. This is really annoying.
They're different leagues.
No, I know.
If it was the old first division, you'd say it's the same.
No, I know that. But this idea that you will not be punished because you've gone up, to me, I
haven't thought it through.
It's ridiculous.
They haven't thought it through.
Don't you think that's ridiculous?
Yes, they haven't thought it through. And all Leicester are doing, bless them, and I think it's within their rights, is to exploit what they think, perhaps, maybe, as a loophole. But Sheffield were being naughty because they were just not paying debts.
Yeah.
For 18 months.
But we've had clubs that have come up from the league championship who have basically paid an exit fine, haven't they? Fulham have done it. I think Bournemouth have done it. Where they've just paid
Wolves paid, didn't they?
They've gone. The EFL.
Sorry if that's wrong.
The EFL have gone. You mightn't be coming back.
So just give you a fine.
Just give us £7 million.
And that's what might happen with Leicester.
But that's wrong, isn't it? Yeah. That is completely wrong.
Yeah.
No, I think that's crazy. Some of that. Roy said Alison Steadman. She knows. Fallout. I've started watching Fallout. It's excellent, Toffee man.
This is why he's up till 4 a.m. Yeah,
it is basically.
And your missus watch all these things with you as well.
She watches some of them and she falls asleep on others, and then complains when I'm three in, and she goes,
"I've not seen
I like the look.
2.
I like the look of this."
And you have to watch them all again.
And I'm going,
you have to watch them again.
In fact, I was watching Giselle on Netflix and I got 3 in, and then she told me she wanted to watch them, and I said, "Do you know what? I'll wait. You watch them, she's never watched them, and I haven't moved past three. And that's really good, Giselle. So
my missus watches a lot on her iPad, so I just tell her to catch up.
Yeah.
Yeah, 'cause that's all you can do, really.
Yeah. Right, let me see. Tim says I got something through the post to say I'd bought a brick, framed it on the wall. But you'd probably paid for that, though. Yeah.
No, we all got images when we ordered them, but we haven't had anything. You're talking about Bramley Moore now, aren't you?
Yeah.
Yeah, but we haven't had anything since, have we? To say, don't worry, it's going down next week. Or so maybe,
I mean, I'm not bothered about that. It'll be the last
thing done.
Be the last thing, and I've got no issue with that.
I want us to know that it's not going to be like, 10 games into the first season and you can't see anything now because so many thousands of people have walked across it.
Colin says I went and met Robert Elston and suggested a problem to build in the brand in the US, and that is exactly how it appeared. His hands were tied. The
most frequently spoken phrase by Robert was, I'll ask the board. And what he meant was, I'll ask Bill.
I pitched Toffee TV to Robert Elston.
Yeah.
I really
didn't see it, did he?
He didn't know YouTube was free, which was one of the most extraordinary things I've ever come across in my life, and this was 10 years ago. He did not know YouTube was free. To his credit, though, what I will say is, though, he did actually get the club media team to work with us for about 3 weeks, and then it got passed from one fella to another fella to the point where it got to a person that was worried about their job.
Yeah.
And it's just disappeared.
That, in a nutshell, is the MO of our football club. You can have a really good, lucid conversation with a person at a certain level, and they then email you and say, I've asked Dave to look into that for you. And Dave contacts you and says, Sharon will be calling you. And Sharon rings you and says, I'm just waiting for Dave. Yeah.
No, it got passed down.
And it just goes round in circles.
It got passed to the point where they were saying, come into the ground every week and you can do a preview.
That's nice.
And then it became, can you do that preview every 4 weeks? So it became, so you want me to preview a game in 4 weeks' time? No, we can't do that. So, being crazy, absolutely crazy.
And all that is all comes back to lack of decisive leadership and not empowering the professionals to do their job properly.
Yeah. Don't get me wrong, I think it would be different now. I think probably going to the ground anytime we wanted, like other people have done, to do stuff like that. There seems to be but it's a different time. That was 10 years ago. People were very, not saying they're not nervous about us now, but people didn't have a clue what was coming down the track 10 years ago.
We all know that at certain levels the club can't be more helpful, but they just have blockers somewhere else.
Yeah. And they can't seem to get out their own way. Right, there we go. We've somehow managed to do well over an hour without ever discussing what's happening on a football pitch. I find that hard to talk about a game of football when it's not for another 3 days.
Chelsea are going to be without a few players, though, aren't they?
Are they?
They've got illness in the camp.
See, again, no, that's now. That's now, it's Friday. Lock and change, kind of, between now and then.
You heard it here. Maybe first.
John's been down feeding the Chelsea players. Yeah. If any of our American friends are watching, make sure you're well up to date on what's happening with Toffee Fest, which is happening in Chicago, I believe, for the Forest game. And they exclusively broke the news that Adrian Heath is going to be there doing a Q&A in the morning.
Night,
In the morning.
It's quite a long one. It's 2.5 hours.
Yeah, that'll be excellent.
Some good stories.
That'll be excellent. That, maybe they did a bit of proper planning. We could have got involved and come over or something.
It's all about you, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. Absolutely is, John. It's always about me. I want to go to Chicago and I need a good excuse to go.
Just go.
I want to go to Japan.
When is it?
Nah, it's for the Forest game. I'm not missing a home game. Okay. To go to Chicago. I'd miss an away game if it was an event.
You don't go to away games?
That's what I'm saying. I'd miss an away game.
That's a big give.
It's a working. Hang on, it's a working. An away game's is a working day for me. It doesn't matter about going to match.
I'm from Chicago.
That's what I'm saying. Yeah. I could do it from Chicago because I'd be watching the game. I could do all my after match there and then because I've watched the game. It's a busman's holiday, but I can't do for a home game.
That's because you're a loyal supporter who's had a season ticket for 23 years.
Well, 23 years when we move in. Okay. Yeah, so
I'm 21 now then.
Yeah. So there we go. Right, we're gonna jump over and do a Premier League preview on More Than a Game. There is no link because Ned just jumped in the shower, apparently. So there's no link, but keep an eye on it in the next 10 minutes or so, and we'll be over on More Than a Game to do a Premier League preview. Right, thanks for watching. See you later, everyone.
Take care,
Bye.
peeps. Bye.